a full conversation on running mates. Is it going to be Matthew Poku Prempeh, or is it going to be his former deputy, Dr. Saya Duchum? Could it be the chief of staff? Could it be other people? You know that this running mate conversation always comes this way. We always see people who are touted, but there's also another group of people. They actually often get it, the dark horses. Tonight, we're going to look at who are the dark horses for Dr. Bawumia's ticket for the running mate. So we'll look at the main as it has become, based on what the media is churning out. And then we'll look at the dark horses. It appears that the NPP is resolving that their presidential candidates must come from Ashanti region. But why? We're going to explain all of that, why the NPP people think their presidential candidates should come from the Ashanti region. We don't know whether Dr. Bawumia agrees with that or not, because essentially it is his decision to make. He has a big decision to make. And we're going to tell you a story about a few of the running mates. We're going to tell you a story about how Alhaji Aliyu Mahama became running mates. And that story was told to me by John Kufuor himself, and how he selected Aliyu Mahama. I'll tell you the story, how Aliyu Mahama became running mates. Running mate stories are always very, very interesting stories. Unfortunately, we can only go as far back as 1979 to look at the running mates, even though Ghana's political history started before then, because the political system that we operated before did not allow for running mates. Even in 1960, when we went to Republic to have a president, Dr. Nkrumah did not have a vice president. He didn't want one. So there are those who feel that the whole vice president conversation is a distraction and that it should be taken out of the 1992 constitution. There are those who say that President Kufuor sort of made allusions to that in the final days of his presidency when he was asking about the role of the vice president. What do you do with it? Should we still have the vice president, or should we have no vice president? Or should we have a president only, as we had in 1960? There are some countries who have presidents who don't have vice presidents. Tonight also, we'll come to the other conversation. Can Dr. Bawumia appoint Nana Akufo-Addo as his running mate for the academic purposes? That's not going to happen. But can he do that? If he did that, would he be offending the law? If in future a vice president wants to appoint a former president, for instance, if J.J. Rawlings was alive and he was popular, can John Mahama appoint J.J. Rawlings as his running mate? J.J. Rawlings having spent 2 terms already. We're going to look at all that from the Constitution tonight. So we have a big constitutional conversation. We're going to give you a lot of filler about what we are hearing about who is going to be running mates for Dr. Bawumia, and also what we are hearing in the NDC camp. The NDC seems to be settled on Nana Akufo-Addo, but in recent times that is changing. And we're going to refer to a conversation that has been leaked to us in the NDC circles about why the prospect of Nana Akufo-Addo may be changing. So all that is coming up. Now, thank you for those of you who saw me in the streets and said you liked the Dr. Bawumia documentary, isn't it? Some people said they liked the Dr. Bawumia documentary. I like it too, but this is my favorite part. There's a certain 3 minutes of the Bawumia documentary. That's my favorite part. I'm going to show it to you. The documentary was made after Dr. Bawumia had been elected the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party. So we talked about the history, blah, blah, blah. But at the tail end, the last 3 minutes was most fascinating for me when I watched it. And I'll share that with you now. And then we come back to the studio. We'll get ready to build on the touch screen as we are building the running mate story. We're just putting our graphics together. It'll be ready very, very soon. In the meantime, enjoy this 3 minutes of our document. We talked about how the NDC said Dr. Bawumia's candidature will never happen, and how it happened, and when it happened, how it was announced at the Accra Sports Stadium. All of that put together in 3 minutes. Have a look.
For now, Dr. Bawumia has broken the heart of the NDC. He truly has.
I feel very sorry for Dr. What's his name? Mahmoud Bawumia. Is that it? All he needs to do is to take a good look at what happened to Alhaji Aliyu Mahama. Is Mahmoud Bawumia actually dreaming that in the unlikely event of NPP winning power, somehow, after Kufuor had run his term, he, Mahmoud Bawumia, will be made the candidate of the NPP? Are you dreaming, Mahmoud Bawumia? Are you dreaming? You don't know the party in which you are? You don't understand that if you are not an Ashanti or Achim, you have no chance?
It is my great privilege to hand over the flag of the New Patriotic Party to you, Muhammadu Bawumia. There you are.
Sometimes I feel sad when I see some of our northern brothers running around and also doing this. They will use you and dump you. I want to live to see the day you let anything happen today. And let our brother Bawumia say he's standing for president in MPP. They will never give it to him, I can assure you. When the misfortune hit us and our father, Professor Mills, passed away, the Constitution said that the vice president should take over. I did. But then we're close to an election. If it was another party, they would have insisted that there should be a Congress. And in that Congress, I would have been contested. And they would have given the leadership to somebody else. But when it happened, the NDC's National Executive Committee called a meeting and said, no, there will be no Congress. We are passing a resolution. John Mahama is the vice president. We are going to support him to lead us into this election. And we went into the election and God gave victory to us. And so I'm proud to be a member of the NDC because I know it is a party that opens opportunities for all people of Ghana, irrespective of your ethnic affiliation or your religious affiliation.
It is my great privilege to hand over the flag of the new patriotic party to you, Mahama Bawumia. There you are.
Well. What's the new strategy for the NDC? They can't say anymore that the MPP is an Akan party. That's one of their strong pillars being completely dismantled by the brilliance and the sacrifices of Mumuni Bawumia's son, the younger Bawumia, whom they teased as a Wale Adam Smith. The Wale Adam Smith is now poised to prevent John Mahama from becoming president again. Well, we will take a break for Christmas, and when we return, the campaign will be on the highway campaign. Good luck to all, especially Dr. Bawumia and John Mahama.
It is my great privilege to hand over the flag of the new patriotic party to you, Mahama Bawumia. There you are.
Okay, so that's my favorite part. Let's get to business right now. It's touchscreen analysis already, but we have another video to show you, isn't it? And I keep saying that, let me grab the stand for my phone. I'll be right back. 1 minute, viewers, 1 minute. Okay, I got it. They gave me a small, beautiful stand that I put my phone on so that, the people who work here with me, they really support my work. They know that I've been referring to my phone every now and then. So they brought me this stand and said, boss, you can have this on your phone, and I thank them. I won't pay for it anyway. They have to pay for it themselves, but it's fine. It's nice. It's beautiful. Okay, welcome back. So we're getting into action right now. This is Good Evening Ghana, and it's live on Metro TV. So we're going to be asking these questions. We're going to be asking these questions because it's about Ghana, and that's why we put the Independence Act there. We'll start tonight and do a few more. Let's look at this other video. People talk about the communications, which is going to lead the way during the campaign. NDC are going to have sharp communicators. MPP are going to have communicators as well. All of them are going to try and communicate. I saw this video of this young man. He has been in this studio before. I believe that sometime soon before the Super Congress, I was talking to him. And I saw this video on TV3. And incidentally, it was one of the videos on Facebook that was posted by my friend Miracles. And Miracles, for me, is a communicator par excellence. Many people know that already. But this guy is doing really well. And if the combination of him and Miracles on that side seems to be quite good. He has a way of putting across his point. He has a way of accepting what the opponents are saying, and then he puts up across his point in a certain way. Have a look at him. He was speaking on TV3.
After examining the over 500 promises that the NPP made to the Ghanaian electorate, we delivered on 70% of those promises. Inherent in that declaration is an admission that over 30% of the things that we said we would do, we were unable to do them.
30%?
So it is not new to say that NPP said they would do A and they didn't do it. In any case, you cannot be objecting to a Bawumia leadership on grounds that he said A and didn't do A whilst canvassing support from Mahama. Mr. Mahama told us that we were going to have 40% representation of women in his government. It didn't happen. He told us that he was going to pass the Right to Information Bill. It didn't happen. He told us that he was going to build a strong and resilient economy. No. He told us he was going to deliver a strong and resilient economy anchored on energy for all. What we got was Dumso for all for 4 years. He told us that he was going to deliver an annual growth rate of 8% per annum. For 4 years, he was unable to deliver, even on one occasion, 8% of GDP. He told us that he was going to keep deficit under 5% for 4 years. For 4 years, he missed that target. He told us, interestingly, that he was going to set up a local radio stations in each district of our country to carry out proceedings of our assemblies. Throughout his tenure as president, he was unable to do that. In his own Gonjaland kingdom, he sat before the late Yogbonwura Bawadoshi and promised the people of the region of creating a savannah region. He repeated it again under the late Yogbonwura Boresa. For 8 years that he was at the Jubilee House, he was unable to do it. He promised the Ghanaian people, He promised the Ghanaian people that every young, able-bodied person willing and ready to work would be afforded a job under a Mahama presidency. For more than 4 years that he served as president, it was only under his era that we had Unemployed Graduates Association. He told us that he was not going to make.
I'm coming. Because you are going on and on. I just want to ask a specific question.
Yeah.
In 2016, you made reference to the Dumso situation in 2015. Before the NDC exited power, what was the state of the energy sector?
The states were talking about what politicians have said and whether or not they were able to deliver.
Let's assume that whatever you have said
he said he was going to provide energy for all. For 4 years, we witnessed Dumso for all.
So I'm only saying to you that in 2016, what was the state of the energy sector before the NDC exited?
In fact, as of January through to February 2017, we're still experiencing energy crisis, notwithstanding their declaration.
In this country?
Oh yes, Google it.
What? In this,
Google it.
We were experiencing energy crisis.
You are connected to the internet.
We were experiencing energy crisis.
In 2017.
In this country.
You are connected to the internet, and Joy FM reported it in 2017. Notwithstanding your public declarations that they had fixed the problem. In this country. I said that you are connected to the internet.
Bawumia said the energy crisis has been solved.
I am saying he's connected. When I made reference to things, he checked it.
You are saying in this country.
In this country,
in
when I made, and in fact, and they issued a timetable to that effect, and you can check it. All right? He told us that he was not going to make excuses for corruption. He made excuses on corruption throughout his era as president. He told us
your best record of corruption is the worst that he got.
He told us
your best record of
that he was going to amend that he was going to amend.
Okay, gentlemen, hold on.
Then
hold on.
We'll also come back with a rebuttal.
Okay, I gave him the three.
I don't know why I listened to all of them calmly.
Yes.
All right.
Round up.
He told us that he was going to amend the Shrag law to empower Shira to investigate corruption without an explicit complainant. For more than 4 years that he served as president, he was unable to deliver that. So there's no politician in this country. Unfulfilled promises cannot qualify as basis to reject a presidential candidate. Otherwise, all those running for president in 2024 will not be eligible. So it is strange that whilst my senior people will recount the things, and this is important distinction.
Okay,
While
I just wanted to say this. Because you have limited time, and I decided to, by this question, give you the time for reason. Now, you've listed all the unfulfilled promises of John Mahama.
And I was going to make a very important distinction.
And granted that all of these things were said, that's the reason why the Ghanaian people voted him out of power in 2016. Yeah. So, are you saying that based on that same yardstick, all the unfulfilled promises of the Kufuor Bawumia administration, the Ghanaian people should also take the same decision, look at that, and go on the same path and vote you out of power?
That's the point I was coming to make.
Yeah, so you heard that. There's going to be a lot of comparison, and we are beginning that tonight on this AD 1957. Whom do you trust on governance, economic recovery, and ICT development policy. Do you trust the right corner, Mahamudu Bawumia, or do you trust John Dramani Mahama? Both of them have been vice president before, haven't they? Both of them have been vice president before. Maybe we can use that as a yardstick to assess both of them. But tonight we'll have a lot more to say about this. We're coming to that in a minute. And we're not just saying this. Do we have others? Yes, we have other comparisons to make, running mates comparison that we are guessing. Whom do you trust on education policy and curricular development? Do you trust Osei Aweduchum, or do you trust Jenano Pokwajaman? Whom do you trust? Sacred trust. Tell me, send a message to Good Evening Ghana official. We begin with the bosses. Who do you trust? Mahamudu Bawumia or John Mahama on governance, economic recovery? Why do we say economic recovery? Ghana needs to recover in economics, and almost every country in the world is going through economic recovery. So you must have people that you can trust that when it's economic recovery, they know how to do it. They've done it before. We've seen them take an economy from somewhere and take it somewhere. We've seen it before. Or you can say that, oh, these people are very good with economic recovery, because for these two candidates, they both have a record. Everyone on the ballot has a record. Dr. Bawumia has a record. John Mahama has a record. So if you take Dr. Bawumia's record as vice president, John Mahama has a record as vice president, you can have a record as president, you can add Bawumia to Kufuor's record, however you want to do it, and say that, no, I don't want to say Dr. Bawumia doesn't have a presidential record. He has a presidential record. He was with Kufuor. Yes, John Mahama has a presidential record. He was president himself. He was also with Mills. So you can decide to say it how you want to say it. But the question we are asking is, knowing both men and having a bit of data background on both men, whom do you trust on governance, economic recovery, and ICT development? Why is ICT important? ICT governs the world. Any country that does not have an ICT policy is lost, is dead, is finished. No country is good. The mobile money that you send is ICT policy. The ID card that you have is ICT policy. Go to the airport and you don't need to use your passport. You don't need to fill a form anymore. It's ICT policy. The things you do is ICT policy. The reason why America is where it is and Ghana is where it is, the difference between somebody living in America and somebody living in Ghana is that the person living in America has more ICT facilities about his life. He can call for food to come. He can call for that to come. He can pay on his phone. He doesn't have to have cash. In Ghana, can you walk around without cash and have the cash on a card? Does it work? Can you walk around without cash and have the cash on your phone? Does it work? That's ICT policy. And that's the future of the world. And that's certainly the future of Africa, because Africa needs to leapfrog. So we need an ICT policy. On ICT policy, whom do you trust? Do you trust Dr. Bawumia or do you trust John Dramani Mahama? On education, whom do you trust? On education again, Matthew Opoku Prempeh is here. He could be the running mate. Jedan Opoku Ajiman is here on education, because education is very important. Education is the game changer. The difference between the poor country and the rich country is education. The number of people who are educated, the kind of curricula, the education. How does the education work in the country? Whom do you trust? Jedan Opoku Ajiman is vice president. Matthew Opoku Prempeh is vice president. Whom do you trust on education policy? And then we have a few more coming. Now, Kwame Wadako has been picked up also as it's been talked about as the potential running mate. So his energy. On energy sustainability, whom do you trust? Matthew Opoku Prempeh or Kwame Wadako? We're going to do this tonight. This is just a teaser. We're just going to do a lot more tonight. So we're going back and start the story from the beginning, isn't it? We're on the highway now. Welcome again. We have a lot of time. Today we started early. So we are now doing some 20 minutes to the top of the hour, 10 o'clock. Plenty of time. Okay, let's get back to the Supreme Court today. And Ken Kranchi, who is an MPP parliamentary candidate, was today thrown out of Supreme Court on the basis that President John Mahama can actually, well, the Supreme Court didn't quite say that. They just dismissed his writ. Now, this has been a sort of conversation that's been going around. I've heard people talk about that. We want to settle it tonight, whether President Mahama is eligible to contest or not. Now, the reason why people say that President Mahama may not be eligible to contest, let me put behind me. Get me Dr. Bawumia and President Mahama's photographs. For most parts of the conversation about the running mate, it will be them. Yes, thank you very much for that. So, the reason why people say that President Mahama may not be eligible to contest is simple. He took the oath of office on 24th July 2012 as president of Ghana. In December of the same year, he submitted himself for an election, and he had been chosen by the National Democratic Congress as their presidential candidate. That's what you heard him say in the video that I played earlier, that when the unfortunate incident passed and Professor Mills died, if it were MPP, they would not make him the candidate because he's a northerner. Because MPP don't do that. They do Achim and Ashanti, and he was talking about that in the video. So on 24th July, he took the oath of office at the at the Parliament House. I happened to be there, and I'm sure many of you were there too, and the others saw it on television. So that's one oath President Mahama took. And then he won the election of December 2012 and took the oath in 7 January, again, a second oath. So people say he's taking the oath twice, and therefore he cannot be president, and that if he wins the elections next year, he'll take the oath a third time, that he cannot take that oath 3 times. Let's try and settle that argument. Let's go to the Constitution. They'll put the Constitution on in a minute. Article 60, viewers, of the Republican Constitution of 1992 appears to settle this argument for us, and it's as follows. Whenever the president dies, so Professor Mills unfortunately died, so he's the one we are talking about. Whenever the president dies, resigns, or is removed from office, the vice president shall assume office as president for the unexpired term. This is the most operative sentence. The third sentence, the most operative one, it says, for the unexpired term of office of the president with effect from the date of the death, resignation, or removal of the president. So let's get that. That's fair. When the president falls down dead, and we are talking about the example of dead, not resign, because you are referring to the unfortunate incident of Professor Mills. May he rest in peace. When a president dies, the vice president will automatically step in for the unexpired term. Now, death is given by God, so a president can die at any time. He can take the oath of office at Independence Square, die the next day. He can die 1 year into his term. He can die a month into his term, 6 months, 2 years, 3 years. He can die the day before the election. He can die the day after he has been nominated by the party for the second term. So the Constitution simply says that whenever the president dies, resigns, or removed from office, the vice president shall take the unexpired term. How do we calculate the unexpired term to make a determination whether that vice president can run again for president or that he cannot run again for president? It's not far away from us. It's in Article 67. Article 67. It says, where the unexpired term served by the vice president under clause 6 of this article exceeds half the term of a president, where the unexpired term exceeds half the term of a president. The president's term is 4 years. So an unexpired term that exceeds half means that the vice president came in before the second year, because the second year is exactly half. So you are either on the half. Actually, the Constitution doesn't say when it's exactly half. It says where the vice president under clause 6 of this article exceeds half. So if he's either on half or below half, it's different from when he exceeds half. Okay. When he exceeds half the term of the president, the vice president is subsequently only, and they put the word only there. Please put the thing on the TV. Let us read it together. Where the unexpired term served by the vice president under clause 6 of this article exceeds half the term of a president, the vice president is subsequently only, we should have circled the word only for you, only eligible to serve 1 full term as president. So now we can now put it in. John Dramani Mahama served the unexpired term of President Atta Mills. Did John Dramani Mahama serve the unexpired term 2 plus 2 years, half the term and more? The obvious answer is no. John Dramani Mahama served 6 months. The unexpired term of Professor Mills' tenure was 6 months. He died in July, and his term was to expire in January. So from July to January is the unexpired term that John Dramani Mahama served. Under the law, it is below half the term, and therefore, John Dramani Mahama is clearly qualified to do 2 terms as president, of which he has done 1. So President John Dramani Mahama is clearly qualified to run for the election. That's what the Supreme Court appeared to have settled today. Now, with that settled, let's get down to the running mate analysis. Who is going to be whose running mate? Who is coming? Who is going? What's the story saying? What's everybody saying? Okay. Now they give me a historical lesson. Now, we're going to say a lot about this man, DeGraff Johnson. We're going to say a lot about him, DeGraff Johnson, tonight. So we are picking the running mates from the historical perspective. So we have a story on DeGraff Johnson we're going to share with you. Those of you younger viewers, you never heard the name before. I heard the name. I never saw him. This is about is this photograph that I've seen. I saw it about 10 years ago. I didn't see DeGraff Johnson. This is 1979. I was a toddler. I remember the political conversation. Broad-based, the best, UNC all the way, convention, air clean. I remember that song. All the children like that song. And I tell you, in 1979, if children could vote, UNC would have won the election. Because we were excited by the song. Broad-based, the best, UNC all the way, Convention air clean power William. We didn't understand it. We were just fooling. But every child liked the UNC song. And so if UNC were to have had, if children could vote in 79, I'm sure that all of us, 5 years, 6 years old, we all have voted for it. Their song was great. And congrats to the PR team of the UNC that did the song. The PFP song, we couldn't quite relate to it. They talk about Kania, Ehai, and we couldn't relate to it as small children. And then Liman's thing, we couldn't really relate to it anyway. So, but here's DeGraff Johnson, who was a partner to Dr. Liman, will tell you how DeGraff Johnson became vice president. And incidentally, he was voted. I think we stopped doing that forever in Ghana's political history, but it's important for us to share the history with you that the vice president of 1979 for Liman, he was voted. I'll show you the results of the voting pretty shortly. Okay, and then this is the other eventful vice president, Konken Senaka, who came in and then later on joined the opposition. This is Professor Mills and J.J. Rawlins. This is Aliu Mahama and John Kufuor, about whom I have a story to tell. Maybe I should tell it now. John Dramani Mahama and also Pakwesi Misata and John Dramani Mahama. So let's get the story about each of them if we do. We will start with DeGraff Johnson, isn't it? Is that the trajectory of our presentation? Let's start with DeGraff Johnson. Let's get to the story. How did DeGraff Johnson become? And we take it from a book. I didn't bring the book, but it's here. It's a book written by Professor Ivan Adai-Mensah, and I've shared that book with you so many times. It's such a great book. I mean, any history student should get it. Any political scientist should get it. Every journalist should get it. This is a must read. It's just a masterpiece. Adai-Mensah wrote the book. I mean, those of us who got to know Adai-Mensah as Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana didn't quite know his political background. Until you read the book and you engage him and you encounter him, that's when you know Adai-Mensah is a very, very serious politician. We knew him as a chemistry professor, a scientist who became Vice Chancellor of the university and who started closing our roles. So we were very angry with him. We made songs to abuse him, and we have so many songs. I mean, the first day I saw him when I was doing my 2016 documentary, I walked into his office. I was feeling guilty because I didn't know whether he knew that I was part of those who made the songs to insult him. I couldn't. So I put my hands behind me. He said, "Oh, Paul, what do you want?" I said, "I want to interview you." He said, "It's okay, sit." I was afraid that he would say, "Which hall were you in?" That was having a problem. He didn't ask which hall I was in, so it was okay. We had the interview nicely. But if you read this book, your respect for Professor Adai-Mensah will shoot up. I mean, this is a classic work of documenting the political history in Ghana, done by somebody who is not a political scientist. He's a chemist and a former vice chancellor. It's just totally amazing. You should read this book. So in this book, Adai-Mensah captures what happened at the time. Now, Adai-Mensah, was general secretary of the party, and that's something that we also couldn't believe. Looking at him as vice chancellor, those of us who has come to see him as vice chancellor, looking at him as vice chancellor, that he was general secretary of a party like Damboche, like Asedu Nketia. Adai-Mensah, really? But that's what happened, you know. It's interesting when you open the book, you see the photographs and you see him really, Prof. You see him in his dark shades. He's looking very guy, you know, he's very young, general secretary of the PNP. It was really a good time for him. And for me, it makes me feel that academics have a role to play. Sometimes we always sit down and think that people in the ivory tower don't have any role. They actually do have a role to play. If you look at our historical politics, some of them played serious roles. And so that's why I look at people like Ransford Jampo, Lloyd Amwa, and I want to encourage them to get into mainstream politics because academics have a role to play and they bring to the politics a lot of decency. You've seen Dr. Bawumia, the way he conducts his politics in a decent way. I think the academics have something to teach us when they come into politics and we should learn from them, shouldn't we? Okay, let's look at the details. Now, Adai-Mensah is writing after the ban on Morigala, okay? So there's a guy called Morigala who's a very rich, wealthy man. He's one of Kwame Nkrumah's proteges. Now, Nkrumah dies sometime in 72, blah, blah, blah. Everything comes around. New politics is coming in 79. Igala says he wants to lead Nkrumah's party. He's qualified, he's entitled, they drew him, so as they say, because he had been there from 1960. Somehow, the laws of the Republic say that Igala, because he's ever been found guilty by a commission of inquiry, cannot be a presidential candidate. So the PNP is in turmoil. They don't know what to do. Igala decides to bring somebody, Liman, and then Kojobo Tio and others go to court to fight the whole Liman to be presidential candidate, Igala to be chairman of the party. They fight it in court, and that leads to Liman's election and then the election of the running mate. Let me take 5 minutes to just tell you the story, and then we come to today's running mate situation. If you indulge me, viewers, please, let's get to the touch screen now. Other commentators even went further to see something even more sinister. to ensure that the PNP is unable to nominate a presidential candidate at the close of nominations in April, so as to give a certain candidate of their choice a much easier road to the presidency. That message doesn't say who. Just the following day, Tuesday, 3rd April, two members of the party, Messrs. Joe Penny, a former national volleyball captain, and White Dachomo, led by their lawyer, Mr. William Edafuga, filed yet another motion in the High Court, seeking to restrain Igala and Liman from putting themselves forward as party chairman and presidential candidates, respectively. They argued in their statement of claim that since Igala could not be elected as a member of parliament, he could not be a party chairman either. They also contended that Liman's nomination by the Central Committee was without authority. But the question was, whose authority? The party's constitution clearly mandated the Central Committee to nominate and vote for a candidate to be presented to the Congress. Hearing of this second suit was set for April 19th. Alhaji Igala, represented by lawyer Ike Ofe. At the first hearing, the case was fixed for the further hearing on 17th April by the presiding judge, Justice Cecilia Corantin Addo, who accepted counsel's arguments for earlier hearing. She said that since the 23rd April was the closing date for the presidential and parliamentary candidates to file their nomination papers, equity, natural justice, and good conscience required that the case be heard before 23rd April. She asked counsel for both plaintiffs and defendants to file their pleadings by the dates of hearing. But the plaintiffs did not abide by the court order. Counsel for the plaintiff, Mr. Willie Fuga, actually abandoned the case and his clients on 11th of April. The case was therefore thrown out when it came up for hearing on the 17th of April. Interestingly, on the 18th of April, the candidates supported by Botsio and others against Liman, Dr. R.P. Bafo, probably sensing that attempts to use the courts to get him the PNP nomination had failed, announced that he was going to contest the presidential candidate as an independent candidate. So these things are not new. You know, history always repeats itself. Solomon said there's nothing new under the sun. What has been is what will be. What has happened is what will happen. But there's nothing new under the sun. You've seen, from what I just read, you've seen it happening now, haven't you? It says that somebody went to court, he didn't get it, RP Bafo, he wanted to be presidential candidate, and then he indicated that he wants to run as an independent, and he'll leave the party and run as an independent. It always happens. Okay. The court's case had left the party very few days to organize, have a congress to nominate its candidates, and meet the deadline for 23rd April for candidates to file their nominations. Fortunately, there had been serious planning behind the scenes to meet any eventualities. The Extraordinary National Congress in Kumasi eventually took place during the weekend of 20th to 22nd April 1979. Even though Liman was the sole candidate for the presidential candidacy, the Central Committee had decided that there should still be a secret ballot so that anyone who still had a dissenting view about his candidature could express it through the negative vote or abstention. The vice presidential candidate was also to be elected by a secret ballot at a congress by all delegates and not left to the presidential candidate to select. This is interesting, viewers. This is interesting. So in 1979, should we go back to that system? Should we keep the system we have, or should we scrap the vice president altogether? This is the story, isn't it? In 1979, the vice president for the PNP, the party that won the election, was elected. It had nothing to do with Dr. Liman saying, I choose this person. No. You choose whether you want to run for president or you want to run for vice president in the Congress. At the Central Committee, that's what they call it. You decide whether you're running for president or you're running for vice president. All right, let's go on with the story. The vice presidential candidate, he said, was also to be elected by secret ballot at the Congress and not left to the presidential candidate to select. Liman pulled 624 votes against 21 and 21 abstentions. From that day on, Kofi Bacha lived every word he had pledged about Liman at the Central Committee meeting and worked tirelessly to ensure that Liman's election as the president, to ensure Liman's election as the third president of the Third Republic of Ghana. 7 candidates contested the vice presidential slot. Now, this is my story tonight. 7 candidates contested the vice presidential slot, namely Professor J.W.S. de Graft Johnson, then the director of Building and Road Research Institute of the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR, Dr. M.M. Owusu-Ansah of the Institute of Adult Education, University of Ghana, Mrs. Stella Donto, a lawyer and banker. Mr. Fred Segbefia, a private legal practitioner. Mr. Johnny Hansen, a private legal practitioner and founder of the PRP, which later merged with the PNP. Dr. Isaac S. Efson, a private legal practitioner and historian. And Dr. Kojo Hansen, a private medical practitioner. With such an array of vice presidential candidates, by what stretch of the imagination could Victor Owusu and people of his ilk in the opposition PFP persistently suggest that the PNP lacked people of high intellect? Oh, is that what Victor Owusu said? The politics goes on. But I noticed something about the PNP's choice of location for their events. It was in Kumasi, the Ashanti region. Perhaps we'll come and talk about that later on. As we look at the NDC's running mate's choice, whether they should go to Ashanti or not. The PNP knew that they were fighting the NLM party and their stronghold was Ashanti, so they really worked on Ashanti region. We have to look at the results to see what percentage the Liman gets from Ashanti. It might prove very interesting. Anyway, let's continue. Voting, he said, was by secret ballot. Like Liman, DeGraff Johnson had originally wanted to be a parliamentary candidate and had been nominated on the 9th of April 1979 as a party's candidate for the Cape Coast constituency. But as fate would have it, okay, here are the results of what happened. DeGraff Johnson, running for vice president, 253 votes. He got 51.8% of the votes. Dr. M.M. Owusu-Ansah, we couldn't even find his photograph. Sorry about that to his family. If you had the photograph, bring it to us. He got 116 votes, representing 23.8 of the votes. Mr. Fred Segbefia had 73 of the votes, representing 14.9. And Mr. Johnny Hansen, who later became quite well known, had 46 votes, representing 9.4%. So, viewers, this is how the story was made. This is the story of the running mate of 79. It was elected. Now, the question I'm asking you on the touch screen, so you tell me through the Good Evening Ghana official, should we go back to that process so that today we line them up? Matthew Poku Prempe, Osaya Oduchum, Godfrey Diebo Adame, Esla Owusu, Joe Osei Owusu, MPP Congress, slated for Ladade Kotopon, my home constituency, trade fair, put the ballot there, let's vote. Dr. Bawumia folds his arms, he's watching, he's checking, he's watching, and then they finish, the electoral commission says, yes, I now have the power to declare Dr. something as running mate of the party, or Mr. something or Miss, and then everybody celebrates, and then the person goes to Dr. Bawumia and says, Dr. Bawumia, here I come, I'm your running mate, I've been elected. Should we do that? It's nation building conversations we're having. I'll get into the running mate story, which is quite subjective, but now it's nation building. What do you think about it? Because this is the history of Ghana that I'm pulling out for you. This is the history of what happened before. Was it smooth? Did it work? Did it work better? Maybe we should ask Ivan Adai-Mensah, who was the general secretary of the party, that this running mate who was selected by vote, did it work? Well, did they have a cordial relationship? Were they able to work together very well? That's the kind of question that we should ask Adai-Mensah. But this is the history. Anyway, so we are done with DeGraff Johnson. Let's go to the other running mate stories. I'll tell you the quick, short stories I know about them, and then we go on. So this is what I know about. Okay, for Rollins and Akar, we can move to Rollins and Akar. Rollins and Akar, there's not much to be said, except that during J.J. Rawlins's wedding with Mrs. Rawlins, I think Akar had a role to play. He was chairman of the reception. So you see, some of these political arrangements, they don't just happen, you see. Story is told, I believe it's in Mrs. Rawlins's book. Story is told that Koinkenson Akar, who was, he became the successor to Mrs. Rawlins's father at the GNTC. J.O.T. Ajiman was the GNTC boss. Here is Koinkenson Akar taking the oath of office in 1992. Now, Nkenson Akar was J.O.T. Ajiman, the famous father of Mrs. Rawlins. He was his protege. Akar became the GNTC boss. That's the Ghana National Trading Company, the GNTC. He became the boss after Mrs. Rawlins' father left. So Mrs. Rawlins' father had a relationship with Akar. When his daughter was getting married, Akar became the chairman of the reception. Those days, it was a seat that was reserved for very respected people because they want the couple that are getting married to emulate the lifestyle of the chairman. So Nkenson Akar had known Jerry Rawlins since then. And I don't know whether they had a good relationship then or a bad one, whatever. But by the time Akar was nominated to be his running mate, JJ clearly knew who Akar was. This was the boss. He was the one who was the chairman at the reception. They didn't have a very good relationship as vice president. It didn't work. We know their history. So that's all I can say about this one. Okay, Professor Mills. Yeah, we know it. Kwame Nkrumah told us the story. We know that. That it was 5 days to go, and then they had to get Professor Mills. Rawlins called him, and so Kwame Nkrumah tells the story about Harry Sawyer. It starts from Harry Sawyer, who is disappointed as education minister that Professor Mills ran for vice chancellor at the University of Ghana. Incidentally, Professor Mills ran against Adai Mensah that I just talked about. And Adai Mensah beat Professor Mills by 1 vote to become vice chancellor at the University of Ghana in 1995, I believe. Or is it 96? I think it's 96. Because Adai Mensah's first freshman vice chancellor congregation was in 97. So this must have been in 96. So sometime in 96, maybe the middle of August of 96, Professor Mills presented himself for vice chancellor of the University of Ghana. He was quite well known in the university. Everybody knew him. And he was a football person, he was a sports person. He was quite affable and very much liked. He presented himself for the vice chancellorship of the University of Ghana. And then he lost by 1 vote to Ivan Adai Mensah. So Harry Sawyer, as a minister for education, quite disappointed, goes to cabinet and says that, look, you people, you have to change that vote at the University of Ghana. Harry is a very direct politician, we know that. He told the cabinet that, look, the guy who lost the thing is our man, Professor Mills, he's our man. And so Jerry asked him that, why should we change it? He said, no, Professor, he began to extol the virtues of Professor Mills. As he kept talking, Kwame Nkrumah told him that under the Constitution, when the University Council has voted, you can't change it. And Kwame Nkrumah told the audience that. And so, Harry was quite disappointed. Kwame Nkrumah tells the story that after the meeting, Obed Asamoah was Attorney General, but he had left the meeting to his office. So Kwame Nkrumah followed Obed Asamoah to his office. Kwame Nkrumah tells the story himself. I have the video. And he says that, Kwame Nkrumah says to Obed, we are looking for running mates. Professor Bennett has let us down. Professor Bennett, incidentally, was the vice chancellor before the Adai Mensah and Mills contest. So Bennett is the outgoing vice chancellor of the university. Great vice chancellor. May he rest in eternal peace. And Adai Mensah was taking over. Okay. So Kwame Nkrumah goes to Obed Asamoah and says, Obed, this Professor Mills that Harry Sawyer was talking about, don't you think that we need for this running mates law now that we are hot? These are brains working. Those politics have nothing to do with insults. The brains were working. When you read the books of that time, you will begin to feel sad that today the National Media Commission must tell some station that somebody is misbehaving and take him off. I mean, does it have to take National Media Commission to tell a board of directors of a prominent TV station that somebody is misbehaving? National Media Commission must come. It's so sad. Because those days, it wasn't about that. Those is all intellectual contest. Joy FM had a program called Crossfire. If they do it today, you will hear insults. They did it then, there was no insults. Doa Jaho versus Kakra Samoa, at that time it was MPP, they will crossfire and say everything. No insult, devoid of insults. But they will go at each other's throats. Big time in a political debate. That's what it was about. But anyway, so Kwame Nkrumah told Obed that, this Professor Mills guy, don't you think that he's the one we are looking for? According to Kwame Nkrumah, Obed then hit his head and said, Jesus Christ, Kwame Nkrumah, you are right. I know him. I taught him. Obed had taught Professor Mills. Yes. He said, I taught him at Legon. I know him very well. We have to go and get him. Obed then phones JJ, which is the power block. As Kwame Nkrumah said, they spoke in Efe, which he didn't understand. But the phone was given to him, and Jerry said, Kwame Nkrumah, today, get the guy, whatever it takes. And that's how, to cut a long story short, that's how Professor Mills became the candidate of the NDC. Great story. Mills was a successful vice president in terms of his relationship with Jerry. If you compare it to Kwame Nkrumah, that was an interesting one. Okay. Aliu Mahama is a story I want to tell you so that I take a break and then I do the running mate story when we come back from the break because it's 10 o'clock. Now, Aliu Mahama is an interesting story. I'll tell you the story. And I said it here before. The nomination for Kufuor's running mate, after Kufuor had won the contest in 98 in Sunyani, he had already been thinking about this. Now, the MPP situation is arranged since Victor Usu in a certain way. So it's Victor Usu and Tolona Yakubu Tali. And then you have Edu Boahi and Al Hassan. And then now you have Kufuor. He was not going anywhere except to Dagomba. The MPP people, they do in those days, you do an Akan person, and that's Aliu Mahama in your short speaking over there. You do an Akan person, and then you go to a Dagomba. So John Ajekun Kufuor was settled in his mind by the beginning of 1996 that he was going to run with General Joshua Hamidu. Now, why was Hamidu important? We said that before here. Hamidu was important because Hamidu had gained a lot of respect during the 1979 revolt. As a general, the other ranks in the army loved him. And the other ranks in the army didn't love any general at that time. They slaughtered all the generals. They killed them. They asked for the blood to flow to kill their generals. But they didn't kill Hamidu. They liked Hamidu. And so the JJ people were compelled to make Hamidu the chief of defense staff. Hamidu, however, later left the scene after the 3 High Court judges had been killed and became a renegade of the PNDC, became loggerheads with J.J. Rawlings. He was trying to make coups to overthrow Rawlings, etc., etc. In doing so, Hamidu had worked with the opposition in Ghana, which was led by the UP people, John Kufuor, Dubois, Kufuor, all of that. So Hamidu was very well known to them. It was thought that because you needed a military person, because you are coming in after Rawlings, you needed a military person to shake the system. Hamidu was the perfect choice for running mate. And apparently, it was. So Kufuor and his people had settled on Hamidu. And then came Tony Edu, who did a coup de grace against Hamidu. Joy FM's front page, hosted by Kuku Sechado. Tony Edu alleged, just 2 weeks before Hamidu was to be appointed, Tony Edu fiercely alleged that as defense minister, he had come on to documents and held them that showed that it was General Hamidu who included the name of Akwesi Amankwah Afrifa in the executions. Akwesi Amankwah Afrifa is a prominent Ashanti. He's close to the Ashanti royalty. It's a very sensitive topic in Ashanti. The murder of Akwesi Amankwah Afrifa will not be forgiven by the Ashantis until they find the bottom of it. They had held it against Rawlings for many, many years because they said Rawlings had killed Akwesi Amankwah Afrifa and they didn't like it. Not even Achampong. Achampong was killed by Rawlings, but their concern is not so much about Achampong, but about Akwesi Amankwah Afrifa. He's their dish here, and Rawlings killed him. And the PNDC people killed him, and they didn't like it. So Tony Edu said that it was you, General Hamidu, who got the executioners to kill Akwesi Amankwah Afrifa, and now you come and say you want to be MPP running mate. This was done because the NDC were concerned about the running mate that Kufuor had chosen. They thought it was a fearsome running mate. They thought it was very formidable, and they were afraid of Hamidu. Today, they say NDC is afraid of Bawumia, but they were afraid of Hamidu as well. So they hatched a plan that worked. Tony Edu went in the sentiments and picked out the sentiments of the Ashanti people and told them that this is a guy who killed Akwesi Amankwah Afrifa. Are you going to make him running mate? So pressure started mounting on Kufuor that you cannot make this guy running mate. You cannot make this guy running mate. So Kufuor tells the story from here on. Quickly, a search committee was put together that, look, we can't have Hamidu anymore. Let's put a search committee. Who's going to chair the search committee? Kufuor said, oh, my friend Alhaji. They said, who? He said, Alhaji, the contractor, the civil engineer was a contractor. Alhaji Aliu, the Kotoko man. Alhaji Aliu Mahama. Bring him. So Aliu was invited to Kufuor. So I said, Alhaji, you have to chair, you're a Dagoma man. You have to chair this thing to find me a running mate. We don't have time. And the party is waiting for me. I trust you. You have to chair. Alhaji said, no problem. I'll deal with it. So Alhaji Ali started making phone calls, and then they brought in Hawaii Yakubu. He said, no, it doesn't work. So Kufuor tells the story that day in, day out, Alhaji will bring somebody and it doesn't work. So one day, Alhaji brought a thing. He said, Alhaji, what about you? So he said, Alhaji looked at him and looked behind him and said, I'm talking to you, Alhaji Ali, you. I said, me? He said, yes, you. He said, oh, I'm a businessman. I've not thought about politics in that manner. I support the MPP. I love the MPP, but I'm a contractor. I want you to be president, Mr. Kufuor. Be president. And then we can work together. He said, no, Alhaji, you, take the decision. Before he could say Jack, Kufuor had called the party chairman and said, I have a running mate. Before he could say Jack, Harun Atta had done it. That's our running mate. Okay. We all know the John Mahama and the Mills one was also quite interesting. Mills had selected Mohamed Mumuni, who later became foreign minister. And they didn't win the 2004 elections. 2008 had come. MPP had gone to Congress and selected Nana Akufo-Addo, the ultimate formidable candidate that the NDC were very, very afraid of. So they needed to run a campaign to be sure that Nana Addo doesn't become president. Okay. So they were looking for a running mate who can capture something. And Mills was told that whilst Mumuni is okay, this time you have to go for somebody the young people can relate to. And it's John Mahama. He's the one everybody likes. The people are talking about us that we are Buga Buga party. John Mahama is the one who gives us the image of somebody who speaks well, who speaks nicely, he doesn't insult anybody. Let's go for John Mahama. With sufficient reluctance. That's the story. Mills chose John Mahama, such that J.J. Rawlings wanted Betty Moldridrisu to be selected. Other camps in the party wanted other people. It was a fearsome contest for the running mate. Mills stood his ground. And it was so bad that the day that Mills said he was announcing the running mate, he couldn't show up at the event because he was afraid of JJ. JJ showed up at the event, but Mills couldn't show up. When journalists arrived at the event was already over. So all the journalists went to Kama Conference Center. Mills about to announce, where is Mills? Well, Mills is not here. So I was at Kama Conference Center. My colleague reporters at Kuku Hill, and we're checking whether Mills has moved from Kuku Hill. And he said, Mills hasn't moved. He's still here. He said, he's with who? He said, he's Kwame Ahoy. He's standing with Kwame Ahoy. They are talking. Said, so they haven't moved? No, they haven't moved. Then the studio will call me, what is happening? I said, well, we are at the Kama Conference Center. Rollins is here. All the NDC people are here, but Mills is still in Cuckoo Hill, and he's the one going to make the announcement. I said, okay, let's keep it. So keep a reporter at Cuckoo Hill. Let's see what's happening. So I'm on the phone with the reporter at Cuckoo Hill. What's happening? Oh, they say the event is over. How is it over? It's done. Who got it? John Mahama. I said, how? I said, go inside. So there's total confusion. You enter confusion. What happened? The people were sitting in the room. Obviously, if I have the video, I can show it to you. I won't show it to you today, but I can show it to you if you want it. I've showed it before. Obviously, if Ankara takes a paper and says, ladies and gentlemen, I have the power from Professor Mills to announce that his running mate will be John Dramani Mahama. Bye-bye. That's what happened. Very dramatic. Very, 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 very dramatic. Mills still didn't show up. So Jerry was there, disappointed. And the people were putting the microphone in his face and said, former president, what do you have to say? He said, I don't have to say anything. He left. But that's how John Mahama was selected as a vice presidential candidate. And then John Mahama also selected Pakwesi Misata, which was also quite interesting. And I remember the article I wrote, the graphic in those days, that Pakwesi Misata should submit himself to vetting by the Appointments Committee of Parliament, given all the circumstances. We had never had a situation where the president had died. Mills had died. Mahama had become president. Mahama needed to choose a running mate, to choose a vice president. And we were wondering what should be the process. And some of us thought that it should be by a parliamentary appointment hearing process. And I still have the article I wrote in graphic. It was commented upon by Idrisu Haruna and Alex Sebefia on the full program in Joy FM in those days in 2012. And eventually Parliament met Pakwesi Misata. He was the first vice president to become vice president by appointment of the president and through a parliamentary hearing process. That's also historic. We should note it down. Pakwesi is the only vice president. Maybe for now he's the only. Maybe another one will come. I don't know. But Pakwesi is the only vice president who has been appointed vice president by an appointment of the president and subsequently by a parliamentary process. That's what happened. And then later on, both Pakwesi and John Mahama were elected in the 2012 election. So that brings us to the end of the history. Well, of course, we know how Bawumia was selected. President Kufuor wanted to begin the gender agenda. He said he wanted Haja Alima Mahama and Darocha. The party said no. The matter went to Darocha. I remember once again, I was there at the IEA when the crowd came to Darocha. During those days, with the permission of Dr. Charles Mensah, I would go to the IEA in the afternoons and I'll visit with BJ Darocha. And I will go into his chamber and he'll be sitting on his chair, looking at his computer with his bushy hair. And he'll say, Mr. Journalist, how are you? Then he'll be typing, then he'll look at me. What is the story today? I said, Mr. Darocha, there's no story. And he'll be typing and say, is there no story? What is happening? Have you checked with the Ghana Bar Association? He'll be typing. And he'll look at me and we talk. These men, you sit with them for 20 minutes like you've been to university. I'm so grateful for that. And I have to thank Dr. Charles Mensah and Jean Mensah, who is the Electoral Commission, who would usually allow me to come into the IEA and to sit with Darocha and just listen to him and chat with him. So I was with Darocha when the crowd arrived. And then he asked, what is happening? I said, some people are looking for you, I'm sure. So I went out, I said, some MPP elders are looking for you. I remember clearly, Victor Newman's wife, Daquan Newman's mother, was in that group of people. And they said they needed to see Darocha. So for me, that's a story. So I started noting it down. Okay, this people came to see Darocha for what? They came to complain to Darocha that they didn't like the choice that Nana Kufuor had made with the lady and that Darocha should intervene. Darocha said, don't worry, Nana is coming to see me later today. We'll talk about it. After the meeting, sometime, I don't know where it happened, but he met Nanado somewhere. And after that, you've seen those letters that have come, after that, Nanado changed his mind. And then came Alhaji Muhammadu Bawumia. And I was at Alisa when Bawumia was first announced. It was a difficulty. And then Akufo-Addo had campaigned. And Kufuor said, look, he's going to be the presidential candidate. Allow him to choose his running mate. So quickly people rallied around and everybody came by. I remember somebody said something that day. And this is when we had left Alisa and come to Dr. Bawumia's house. You know where Dr. Bawumia used to live? I'll show you. He's no longer there, so I can show you. Those of you who live in Accra, if you are driving at Laboni, the place where they've done the palace, directly opposite the palace is a Bank of Ghana bungalow. That's where Dr. Bawumia used to live. I think Bank of Ghana still has it. But so that's where we all moved. So from Alisa, we all moved to that place waiting for Dr. Bawumia to see whether he would grant an interview or not. Samira was there as well. Somebody in the place, I won't mention his name, he's a Supreme Court judge today, he pulled me aside and said, Paul, do you understand the choice Akufo-Addo has made? I said, no, tell me. At that time, he was a lawyer. He said, look, this choice Akufo-Addo has made is for the far future. I don't know why he told me that. I just don't want to mention his name. I don't know why he told me that. This is 2008 in Dr. Bawumia's house. He said the choice Akufo-Addo has made is for the far future. And this choice is for the MPP. And it is divine. I remember that. Ken Atefa was there. Ken Atefa was standing with me. I just don't want to mention the one who said it because the Supreme Court judge. Ken Atefa was there. He said, "Paul, do you understand what Akufo-Addo has done? This thing he has done is for the far future. And it is for the MPP. It will help them in future. And it is divine." I remember that. He said, "It is divine." So I looked at him and I said, is he suggesting that the election coming, MPP will not win? Because it's also a far future. The election is tomorrow. Then he says far future. But I didn't make much of it. As time went on, and as last Saturday at the stadium, I remembered the words of his lordship. I said, this is what the judge was talking about. He said, Akufo-Addo's choice of Bawumia is for the far future. It is for the MPP, and it is divine. That's what he said. One day I'll tell you who said, but Ken Atefa was there. If you remember, Dr. Ken Atefa was with us because we were all in Bawumia's house waiting. So that was the choice of Alhaji Mahama Bawumia for the running mate. Okay, now let's get to the story. Great. 15 minutes past 10 o'clock. Let's get to the story now of what is the big deal about the running mates now. Now Dr. Bawumia is no longer running mate. He's the boss now. He's going to choose his running mate. Who is he going to choose? Why is he going to choose? Who should he choose? Who, when he chooses, are we going to have a contest? Who, when he chooses, are we not going to have a contest? We'll contrast it with John Mahama's choices, and we have a big story tonight. Unfortunately, viewers have to take the break again. I'm so sorry about this. But I need to take the break now so that we can get out the commercials so they can pay us. When we come back, we are firing on all cylinders. Do you have any ideas about what we should do? Send it to us, and then we'll take the text messages. But we are ready now for the running mate story, part 1. I'll be right back.
Anti-cavity, gum protection, brighter teeth, and fresh breath.
I'm a fat missy way.
The patch of Bantama.
Matassa.
That's a cycle.
It's her smile.
The fresh breath.
Me, Jidi said we used to Cal 360 toothpaste. Some kind.
Cal 360 toothpaste.
That's Kia. Cal 360 toothpaste. It's a gum protector.
Onim jom kasan. Kile hosen. Cal 360 did the way. It's cool mint. Gives me fresh breath and your confidence booster.
And you will see so feeling kika when you know Cal 360 toothpaste.
Happy smile.
Cal 360 toothpaste, anti-cavity, gum protection, brighter teeth, and fresh breath. Cal, happy smile. This advert is FDA approved.
Good afternoon, Mr. Ampedu.
Good afternoon, Mr. Asari.
How is business doing?
My business is collapsing.
Why is your business collapsing?
I sold my products and services to my clients on credit, and my debtors are not paying their debts.
Have you heard of Rosic Consult Limited, a debt recovery company operating in all the 16 regions of Ghana?
Not at all.
Mr. Ampedu, all you need to do is to contact them on their customer service line. I recommend Rosic Consult Limited, a debt recovery company to financial institutions, businessmen and businesswomen, other companies, and also individuals. Rosic Consult has 98.4% debt recovery rate. We have professional debt recovery managers. You are assured of swift debt recovery. No recovery, no commission. For Rosic Consult Limited, no more write-offs. And we pre-finance the recovery ourselves.
Discover the perfect blend of quality, modern elegance, and affordability with Kingdom Home Real Estate. At Kingdom Home Real Estate, we cater to both local and international clients, offering exceptional housing options in Ebri and Ikropong. Our properties are conveniently located, providing a tranquil atmosphere, top-notch security, and essential amenities such as electricity, water, and backup generators. Our strategic locations offer easy access to popular tourist destinations, all within a 30-minute drive from Accra. Visit us in Ekropon, right after the Latte Junction, or in Ibri, near the Ibri Girls Senior High School. Alternatively, you can reach us at Accra office on 0559 671 144, Akropon office on 0555 621 611. Kingdom Home Real Estate, where your dream home becomes a reality.
Enjoy the fruits of your labor, they say, but as humans, aging and physical infirmity stands our way of enjoying our mansions and homes. It often becomes challenging, if not impossible, to use our stairways day in, day out. With portable American pneumatic vacuum elevators, PVs, you are assured of unlimited enjoyment of your mansions and homes. It's a self-supported elevator for vertical movement of humans and goods at homes and offices. The original comes in 3 custom-made models with wheelchair accessibility. Call it luxury, but it's a necessary imperative for vertical mobility. Do not let aging or infirmity limit you. Get one for your easy vertical mobility at home. It's affordable and can be installed in just 3 days without modification to your existing building. It's however easier to incorporate it at the construction stage. We also have traditional Fuji elevators and escalators for your high-rise buildings and malls. Visit Lifts and Elevators Company Limited at Sakumono for your elevators nationwide. For free consultation to call or WhatsApp us on 0200-535-515. Lifts and Elevators, the elevator people.
For over 20 years of serving the world with herbal and alternative medicine, we've been successful in treating complicated medical conditions with a perfect combination of herbal and alternative methods of treatments like homeopathy, naturopathy, reflexology, and many more. We deliver excellent and effective service to people from all walks of life through scientific and traditional means. We have a well-equipped laboratory with advanced diagnostic and treatment devices to help detect your illness, so we know the right medication to be given. At Amen Scientific Herbal and Alternative Medical Hospital, we are proud manufacturers of our own herbal medication. Our zeal and passion to save lives with our patients at heart and outstanding achievements since 1996 has won us several awards. That is why we say, go herbal, go Amen. We are located everywhere in all the regions. Amen Scientific Herbal and Alternative Medical Hospital. Allahu Shafi, God is the He.
Customer. Nanaka. Ah, Nadabena Minka, Papa. What you saying? Mika Tangana. 10 Ghana cedis. No, dear, send out Benya. 10 Ghana cedis. No, me dear. 54,000 Ghana cedis. 54,000. 540 million. Yeah, the one who made Kamedi is Kasek. Yeah. And then I get it's now when. It's now Aboki. Drawn on assassin. Mammy, you volume. Customer! Ready! One of our daily lucky winners. Dial *946# to play now. Or you can also play online at www.gamepackgames.com. Game Park is regulated by the National Lottery Authority.
My son, there's more blessing in giving than receiving. When you fear for you and cover the makers in
The pneumatological abrasion of the Lord revealed unto me this night that me and my household should go out into the world and bless the world.
Makers Electronics Company Limited. Up to 67% discount. Our selected appliances.
This is what I call quintessential immaculatability.
The Makers Electronics Company Limited. Taifa Burkina Highway. Amasama Zongo Junction. Edike Pharmacy Dining. Oyer Fateman Boga Junction. Ashaman Valco Flat. Kumasi. Ahinema Kokobin. Asafubuachi Hospital Junction. Number 9 Market.
Tell mom and dad about the Makers Blessing Attack program.
From 0552 222 253 and 0552 222 254. Terms and conditions apply.
In life, choice is good, but choice plus safety is way better. Your safety and comfort is paramount. Under the cylinder recirculation model, you can buy LPG in a safe environment. All cylinders are inspected and maintained to the best safety standards, so your safety is assured. Just take your empty cylinder to the nearest exchange point and swap it for a filled cylinder. Different cylinder sizes will be available to meet your pocket size. Imagine cooking in a smoke-free environment. This will improve the health and well-being of you and your family. Choose LPG in a safer model of distribution. Cylinder recirculation model. Securing your safety. Creating more jobs. A message from the National Petroleum Authority under the patronage of the Ministry of Energy.
The 7th edition of the prestigious Ghana Energy Awards is here. Theme: Ghana's Energy Transition Framework, Sector Institutions as Building Blocks for the 2030 to 2040 targets. Happening live on Friday, 17 November at the Labadi Beach Hotel, 6:30 p.m. Special guest of honor is His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Kufuor, President of the Republic of Ghana. For tickets, sponsorship, or enquiries, call 030-394-0300 or 055-930-0631. Endorsement, validation, industry partners, media partner. Ghana Energy Awards, 7 years of redefining excellence.
Okay, welcome back to the show. We're getting on the highway now. Thank you very much for all of you watching. It's always a delight to know that all categories and demographics of people are watching. Good evening, Ghana. Okay, good evening to Nelson Mandela and Che Guevara. They give me inspiration for this program. Okay, let's take the text messages and then we get on to the big stories now. Antoinette first, what are people saying?
Okay, so people are sending in their submissions on the pairing of the running mates for both the NPP and the NDC. Akwesi Echampon says, Paul, me thinks John Mahama's running mate is already decided in Jane Nana Opoku-Agyeman. However, the NDC are apprehensive in either Matthew Opoku-Prempeh or Yao Edichum becoming the NPP running mate and facing off with her on education. Now, Abdul Razak also says, I think they shouldn't in any way put pressure for our candidate to choose his running mate. Dr. Bawumia should be given a space to do much better research to get the right person to partner him. I know he will give us the best ever running mate in the history of the Ghanaian politics. Abdul Razak, former Tamale South Constituency Youth Organizer of the NPP. Yao Osefrin Pono says, Paul, I predicted Bawumia and Napo tickets about 7 years ago, just like what you were told by His Lordship at Dr. Bawumia's house. This pair is for the future and smooth transition within the NPP. Simply divine. Shobi says, I really go by the appointment than voting for running mate. But what I have much more interest in is on the ballot paper for presidential elections, there should be a picture of the running mate as well. Mr. Paul, I do enjoy your presentation. Now, Annam also says, I trust Dr. Bawumia, inshallah, will be a president. It will be possible. If John Mahama forgets anything in the Jubilee House, he should message Dr. Bawumia so he gets it for him. But going back to the Jubilee House again is never possible for John Mahama. Charles Osei also says Dr. Bawumia should choose Matthew Opoku-Prempeh as his running mate for the 2024 election, as this will guarantee victory for the NPP. Lastly, Sofiano Adams, watching us from Pusiga, says, good evening, Paul and your crew. Napo has a lot of parliamentary experience. He is youthful and has experience in a lot of ministries. His track record is excellent. Inherent in him is his political astuteness. His royal lineage in the Ashanti region will rope in the massive numbers for the NPP. Greetings to the Director of Legal Affairs for NPP lawyer, Nimako Mafo. What do you have for us?
All right, I think there's a lot of support for the Bawumia tickets, because Master Planner also says Dr. Bawumia and Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh will be the finest combination for the NPP to break the 8. This combination can relegate ex-presidents from the politics and collapse NDC as a party. Doctor and doctor, it is possible. John Achu says, we trust JM and Spiro victory tickets for 2024. Dr. Eko Sparagari, Spigabra, was education minister under the Rollins administration, who is credited with VAT and GET fund that's building our economy and all educational infrastructure in Ghana. Prince says Dr. Bawumia is the greatest of all time when it comes to talking about governance, economic recovery, and IT development policy. It is possible, inshallah. Lastly, Bernard says, Paul, your program is a whole class. Thank you for teaching us.
All right, thank you. So this is coming from Prince, and Prince here has his own analysis on why he thinks NAPO should be the running mate for Dr. Bawumia. He says NAPO on education curriculum. First, free SHS program was initiated under the able leadership of NAPO, and Gallup program for public basic schools in country, which aim to improve educational learning outcomes. 3, the capitation grants under the able leadership of NAPO increased to Ghana cedis 4.5 per child every year. And then the fourth one is professional development allowances. This is also coming from Safiano Adams, and he says, good evening, Paul and your crew. Napo has a lot of parliamentary experience. He's youthful and experienced in a lot of ministries. His track record is excellent. Inherent in him is political astuteness. His royal lineage in the Ashanti region will rope in the massive numbers for the NPP. Coming from Alhaji Bob City, says, Paul, when it comes to the running mate matter, no other name than Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh. He's more popular than the current educational minister. However, since the power is vested in the flag bearer, let's pray the one he chooses can add him more votes and NPP wins convincingly. Coming from Vondegina, he says, I don't support the idea of electing running mates. We should allow the candidates to appoint them for the purpose of regional and gender balance. I would also wish that the position is reserved for the academia. Coming from Haj Baba, he says, good evening, Paul. We keep praying to God and the Almighty to grant us long life and prosperity coming 2024. We will witness the hat-trick defeat JDM is going to experience by the NPP as a party without unblemished, competent Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. And then lastly, coming from Alhaji Bob City, says, good evening to you, Paul. Your excellent presentation, your excellent screen touch analysis, and your in-depth knowledge of law, history, journalism makes you the #1 journalist in Ghana today. I try to pair you with other brilliant journalists in the country, but hey, none comparable to you, Paul Diwohene. Angela, what do you have for us?
All the way. Faustina Amisa says, looking on, the NDC is really blessed with the knowledgeable people to govern this country. Yes. Frank Boydie says he disagrees. He said Mahama and Jane are both outmoded. And Z Haj says, I believe the NDC will change Jane Nana Opoku. This message coming in says, good evening, Paul. You won't be bad at all for a running baits position. Kindly have a second thought. We are gender pushers. We can start shouting your name on social media. Anyway, we've got from Record Man. He says, good evening, Paul. Honorable John Peter Amewu will be the best running mate for Dr. Bawumia. I think you should also consider him in your analysis. Now, Mahmoud Captain from Bimbala says, good evening, Paul and your team. I trust Dr. Edutrum any day than Professor Nana. He supervised cancellation of trainee allowances, 3-month salary arrears policy, cancellation of book and research allowance for universities, etc. Dr. Edutrum, on the other hand, supervised restoration of trainee allowances, implementation of professional development allowances for teachers, etc. Now, Al Hassan from Takrady says, even a KG pupil knows Dr. Bawumia is way ahead of JDM in everything, from governance to economy to IT. Nana Jim Bibi from Kumasi says, I think Dr. Opoku Prempeh stands tall, being a running mate. He's the link between the older generation and the new generation. He's a strong man and as well a politician who knows his stuff. Listen to him explaining issues and you will love him. Now, Taufik from Kintukachi says, Paul, J.A. Kufuor inherited HIPIC economy from the late Rawlings. His Excellency Kufuor improved the economy to a middle income, then handed over the middle income economy to Professor Mills. His Excellency Atta Mills did well to better the economy, then died 3.5 years into his first term. Then John Mahama took over the presidency. 6 months later, he collapsed the economy and took us to the IMF. So if Ghanaians voted out Dr. Bawumia and his NPP, John Mahama and his NDC cannot be an option. The record when it comes to the economy is simply bad, And yeah, that's it. That's it for now. Back to you, Paul.
Okay, so welcome back to the show. I'm just trying to send this message on the public platform so that people will see it. There's an important message here. Okay, viewers, it's always a pleasure to come your way with this edition of the show. Let's get back to the touchscreen and do our stuff right now. Okay, I'd like to begin with an announcement that I'm making. You know that I'm very fascinated about religious philosophy, isn't it? My religious philosophical bulwark and backbone and teacher is the teachings of Pastor Otabil. If you follow the teachings of Pastor Otabil, you will be a religious philosopher, isn't it? You know, some people, when we were in university, we used to argue about who is a prophet and who is not a prophet. I always made the point that Pastor Otabil is a prophet, but he just doesn't say so. So I am a student of Pastor Otabil's religious philosophy, especially the New Testament philosophy. Now, because of that, I like to engage pastors. This week, I'll be engaging His Holiness Abel Damina. Abel Damina has become controversial for something. He used to say, he used to have a certain philosophy on tithing. And now he has the complete opposite philosophy. Abel Damina is in Ghana, and his people have done their research, and they want us to interview him because they want me to confront him with the biblical philosophy, and he's happy to explain. So tomorrow I'll be recording an interview with him somewhere in Accra. I won't tell you. It's in a popular hotel. I'll be there around midday to record an interview with him. Abel Damina is here. Good evening, sir. But Abel Damina is going to be doing this. 14 to 16 November, he is speaking at 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. each day at the Jesus Tent, adjacent American House, East Legon. There's a place called the Jesus Tent, adjacent American House, East Legon. Dr. Damina live in Ghana, and he will be on our show as well. He seems to be wearing a tie here that's quite similar to mine, isn't it? Okay. So I'll be talking to Abel Damina. Please make a point. Those of you who want to listen to him, he's a big teacher on tithe, rapture, and all of those things. And we will be confronting him from the Word of God, the pure Word of God that we have been trained in, and asking him questions so that for the benefit of viewers, you can see that on Thursday. We are recording an interview with Abel Damina. But he's here. If you want to listen to him, he's speaking at a place called Jesus Tent, and is at American House. And you have to contact the following numbers to find out whether you can reach him. But we are interviewing him tomorrow, and we'll show you that interview on Thursday. Okay, let's get back to politics now. It's 23 minutes to the top of the hour 11. Yes, here we go. Hey. So, this election, 2024, is the most important election that we've had since 1992. Every year we say it's the most important election. Every year we say it's the most important election. But we can certainly say that 2024 was more important than 2004. 2008 was a watershed election. So it was 2024 is the other epochal era of the elections. In these elections where it is very important, running mates become particularly crucial. After the Mills administration had formed in 2009, there was a contest between Mahama supporters and Mills supporters in the government. Mahama supporters felt that they are the reason why 2008 was won, not because of Mills. It was won because of John Mahama. Mills supporters like Kufuor will tell them, shut up over there. Do you know how we won the election? And they will say that if you didn't elect John Mahama, you'd never have won the election. So that conflict persisted until Prof. Mills unfortunately passed. And we saw the repercussions. John Mahama, when he became president, he kicked out almost everybody who was a Mills person. Neil Antivanderpoel is the latest casualty. Kufuor was thrown out. Somebody in the castle, all of them, the deputy regional minister, Reverend, the pastors who used to pray there, everybody was kicked out. All the core Mills people were taken out because of this seeming conflict that was not decided as to who won 2008. Was it the Mahama impetus that was given to Mills that won the election, or it was Professor Mills himself? The jury is still out on that matter. You can make your decision. We are back at another election where the running mate's decision and position is so crucial. For the MPP, they are looking at it this way. This is the first time they are picking up a non-Akan candidate. So the running mate must be Akan. Akan is generally broader. So some people are trying to push the running mate to say that, to push the candidate, say that your running mate must be a Shanti. For sure. Other people say, no, it doesn't have to be a Shanti from Begro, a Shanti from my hometown, Kwamo, a Shanti from Josu, John Kume's hometown, a Shanti from My father's father is from Kwamo, but he lived in Nkasim, so people think that he's from Nkasim. So you don't say an Ashanti from Nkasim. So the Ashanti towns are Nkasim, Ejoso, Kumewu, Bampon, those kind of hardcore places, or the Kumasi places. And Suta is big, yeah, those places, Kukufu, that's Ashanti. So some people are saying that, yes, it is true, but let's pick an Akan candidate that people can rally behind. That's not just Ashanti. You heard in Parliament that they are pushing the Ashanti agenda. I don't know how that's going to end. I don't know what the presidential candidate is thinking, but this is our analysis. Okay. The first three, Osaya Oduchum. Now, Osaya Oduchum rose to fame when he was Deputy Minister of Education. He started talking on programs like ours, on Newsfile, and as he spoke, people began to wonder that, where has this guy been? Who is he? The Deputy Minister of Education. Charlie, the guy is brilliant, man. Where is he coming from? And they said he's from California, he's from America. So one day I brought him here and I said, you should tell his story. And then he said, well, he's in California he's built a school, he's doing very well in education. He's an education professional. He studied land economy at KNUST, went over abroad and took his PhD in education. So he's an education person. He was minding his business in California when Kufuor came in 2010 or so, after he had lost 2008. So he met him and he talked to him about education. He said, is that what you do here? Kufuor said, why didn't you come to Ghana? We need you to come and work. And he said, oh, I'm not a politician. I said, no, it doesn't matter. Where do you come from? He said, I come from Boston. He said, oh, call Freddie Blay and people, they will sort you out. Come. I need you in Ghana. Hurry up and come. He thought it was a joke. Kufuor went and phoned him. He said, Dr. Duchum, are you coming? You say you are from Jachi. Are you coming? Will you? Okay, blah, 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 blah. Long story short, Duchum sits in America. He's elected as a member of parliament for Jachi. Anyway, he comes in and he becomes a member of parliament. Later on, the party win power. He's made Deputy Minister of Education. People hear him and they say, this is education for education. So he's there. Matthew Poku Prempeh. Matthew Poku Prempeh had demonstrated a certain loyalty to the Akufo-Addo system. Now, I didn't know him that well. But in 2008, during the results of the election, as the results were coming in, at that time, there was a clear body language conflict between the Kufuor people and the Akufo-Addo people. And the Akufo-Addo people felt that the Kufuor people were not given the support that they needed to give for this election, because Alan Chematin had been defeated. In the midst of that, I was in the room when at that time, the candidate Akufo-Addo was, and there were a few other people there. And they said to him that Napo is looking for him. Then he said, let him come. And it appeared that the conversation they were having was quite sensitive at that time. They were looking at some figures. It was quite sensitive. So when he said, let him come, one of them looked at him with a kind of bombastic side eye, and he told the person that, Napo is fine, it doesn't matter. And the person asked him, are you sure? I won't mention the person's name. He said, are you sure? The candidate said, yes, it's fine. So he came in. Then I saw him, Napo. This is the first time I'm seeing him. 2008. So he comes and he squats by the candidate and he's doing some figures analysis with him. Then he looks at me with a bit of suspicion because this is sensitive and some journalists in the room. So he pauses, he identifies me, he pauses, looks at me with suspicion, and then the candidate says, oh, it's Paul Adumoche, it's okay. Then he continues his work. So as he's going, I go to see him off. This is at the Electoral Commission, near the Electoral Commission office, number 7, where Akufo-Addo is. I go to see him off. And then as I'm descending the steps with him, he hits me with this. So I've never met him. He just said, now, Opedewa, we are journalists, Opedewa. And I said, oh, this is a nice, bubbly guy. And I said, okay, cool. So he me. He said, me de me no more. So back I'm home. And I said, next time I come to Kumasi, I'll come and look for him. And that's how we became friends from that time. So Napo was one of those who was representing Menshap constituency. You would have thought of him as a Kufuor person because he's replacing Kwame Ado-Kufuor at Menshia. So, and he's from the Menshia, thing. So, but he was one of those that the candidate in Accra could single out and think that, oh, this guy is for me. So I started observing him, from that time. And then the stories came out about his loyalty. So he's done that for quite a bit. It wasn't surprising then that the core policy of Akufo-Addo's administration, Akufo-Addo anchored his political career on education. Fundamentally that. He began the free SHS campaign from the 2008 election. He stepped it up in 2012. He repeated it in 2016. So this, Akufo-Addo had tied his political fortunes to the delivery of a certain education service and quality. That's what he has tied his political fortunes to, clearly. As soon as he was made president, everyone was checking out who is he going to send to education to carry out this. And then he chose Napo. Napo was looking for something else. He wanted to be minister for local government. He thought that he had done enough in that area. He had been studying local government. He wanted to be minister for local government. But the president called him and said, I trust you. Go and do education for me. Okay, the rest, as they say, is history. So he's on the card. Chairman Sabonsu is here. Okay, why is Chairman Sabonsu there? Even though he said that he doesn't want it before. He's there because the concern is that this election is a parliamentary election. Whoever will win 2024 will have to win in parliament. Parliament is where the action is. If you can be picking up parliamentary seats on the night of election results coming, you have won the presidential. If you sit here on election night and the results are coming in and one party is winning parliament that they didn't have before, it should be indicating to us that that party is going to win the presidential election. So it's a parliamentary election. If it's a parliamentary election, therefore, you need to select your running mate from within amongst the members of parliament and select somebody the members of parliament can rally behind. Is that person Chairman Sabonsu? Is that person Napo? Is that person Osei Oduchum? I don't know. But these are the three front runners. The point about the running mate, though, it doesn't always go to front runners. Always. In fact, often it doesn't go to front runners. Maybe this year it will change, but it doesn't often go to front runners. We will consider the dark horses in a moment. But let me now go to my Independence Arc chart. Let's start with Dr. Bawumia and John Mahama, and then we'll build it up to the rest. I'll come to the dark horses in a minute, and then I'll come to the NDC one. Okay. So we are looking at Dr. Bawumia and John Mahama are here. Whom do you trust on governance, on economy, economic recovery, and ICT development? Whom do you trust? Because this is number one for MPP, this is number one for NDC. This is not going to change. Whom do you trust? We asked that question already. Let's move it on. Now, this is an interesting one. This pair is the reason why Jenana Opoku-Agyeman may be changed. I'm giving this to you viewers tonight. Take it. If ever Jenana Opoku-Agyeman is changed as John Mahama's running mate, it will be because of the fright of this pair. The NDC have held a meeting, and they are particularly frightened about this Dr. Educhum and Jenana Opoku-Agyeman situation. So we asked the question that on education curricular development, whom do you trust? If Osei Educhum is the candidate for the MPP running mate, Jenana Opoku-Agyeman is the candidate for the NDC, both of them have been ministers for education. That's all Jenana Opoku-Agyeman has done in politics anyway. She was Vice Chancellor of the University of Cape Coast, the first ever female Vice Chancellor. Congratulations to her. We love her for that. But she was Minister for Education as well under John Dramani Mahama. And the data of education is there. How many people wrote SSE? How many people passed? How many went through free SHS? How many did this? Who has influenced policy? Who understands education policy? Education is a feature of the people who are voting. The people who are voting are looking for education for their children. So this is going to be a very awesome comparison between Jenana Opoku-Agyeman and Educhum if Educhum becomes. What are people saying? They are thinking that the NDC should change Jenana Opoku-Agyeman. Otherwise, if this argument comes in, Jenana Opoku-Agyeman falls flat at the feet of Educhum. No Ghanaian, they say, I don't know, people are saying, no Ghanaian, they say, will look at Educhum and Jenana Opoku-Agyeman and think that Jenana Opoku-Agyeman is superior to Educhum on education policy. Zero. Even the most core NDC person will admit that on this comparison, Educhum floors Jenana Opoku-Agyeman. I don't know. This is not our view. This is a view of what people are saying. We have not said our view. We'll say our view at some point, okay? But it's not our view. This is the view of people, okay? Now, what is your view? A viewer? Are you a viewer? What is your view? Tell us. Let's shift it on. Yes. In the other event that Napo is made the running mate, again, he's been Minister for Education for 4 years. Jenana Opoku-Agyeman has been Minister of Education for 4 years. The comparison is going to come again. Who do you trust on education policy and curricular development? Napo is here. He has a record of education, 17 to 21. Jenana Opoku-Agyeman has a record, 13 to 17. Who do you trust on education? Is education important to Ghanaians at all? I believe the answer is yes. It's always important to everyone, especially these days. Now, if you're going to hand over the reins of a government, of government to a group of people, you have to check what their education strength is. Maybe John Mahama can be president and can have a fantastic education minister. We don't know. But for the purpose of the election, we are looking at record. Because this election is going to be about record. Nobody is coming in afresh. Nobody is coming in anew. Nobody is coming in without experience. Nobody is coming in without having been there before. They've all been there before. And they are competing against each other again. So Napo has a record for education. Jenana Opoku-Agyeman has a record for education. We're going to pull up that record. I think this coverage is very simple for media. If we want to do our work the way we have to, it's very simple. It's record versus record, record versus record, record versus record. I remember ahead of 2020 elections, I interviewed President Kufuor in the studio when we opened the studio. And he said that election is a simple matter. I have been president for 4 years. John Mahama has been president for 4 years. It's a straight comparison of record. His record, my record. It's as simple as that. It didn't surprise me then that in areas like Central Region, where the NDC won the parliament, the people gave the presidency to Kufuor. Because comparing the record of Kufuor 4 years, the record of John Mahama, the Ghanaian people felt that Kufuor's record was better. Even though they were unhappy with certain things, COVID has come, there was difficulty, parliamentary elections had gone the other way, but Kufuor still stood tall and won a straight first round over John Mahama because I believe the Ghanaian people had him as the honest person. He came and said, I have nothing to hide. Look at my record. Take John Mahama's record. John Mahama was able to do something with these Okada issues, which were not part of his record, but he raised it. And we believe that he got some votes out of that, which is okay. But Kufuor said, it's my record. Now, if 2020 was about record, 2024 is going to be about record times 2 or record squared. It's going to be record versus record. So here it is. Jenana Opoku-Agyeman, what is her record at education? Why is she having a claim to the running mate? If she becomes the running mate, why must she have a claim to the vice presidency? What is the record? Ghanaians had ever given her the opportunity. She did. She became education minister. What happened? Ghanaians have ever given Napo the nod. He's a member of parliament. He became education minister. Now he's energy minister. What happened? That's what we're going to deal with, isn't it? Okay, let's move on and see whether there are some differences. As a result of that, there's a high call that Kwame Ewadako should replace Jenana Opoku-Agyeman, because they don't want the bashing on education to hit the presidential ticket. That's the NDC PR that is thinking now. They don't want the bashing on education to afflict, that's the word I'm looking for, yes. The NDC doesn't want the bashing on education to afflict the presidential ticket. Because if you have Jenana Opoku-Agyeman and Don Mahama, education may afflict the NDC ticket if Napo is chosen or Educhum is chosen. There's going to be a big conversation about education. And if the NDC loses the education argument, it's not good for the ballot. Because Ghanaians are concerned about education, so you cannot lose the education argument. You can't. NDC will still have to fight for the education argument. They have to say that free SHS didn't work, the food that they give the people is not good, and the people who are day students, the food they give them is not nice, and sometimes the boarders don't have a place to stay, and the children are at home more months than they are not. So free SHS is not good. They may say that, but that would be a very, very difficult argument to sustain because there are many, many more beautiful free SHS stories, thousands more. In any case, 1.8 million people by the next election have been educated on free SHS. Are you going to tell them that it was wrong? 1.8 million young people of the ages between 14 and 18 have gone to school on the taxpayers' money, never heard of in any African country. Never ever heard of. And it's every school. The best schools in Ghana, you go there for free. Wesley Girls, you go there free. Achimota, you go there free. Presec, you go there free. St. Peter's, you go there free. St. Augustine's, Disadel, Aquinas, Laboni, Prempeh College, you go there for free. Never ever heard of it was not possible. That's what everybody said. We all believed it. And the NDC thought it was not possible. So now it's going to be difficult for the NDC to say that, oh, forget about their free SHS, it didn't work. Well, they may say it, but it's up to Ghanaians to make a decision. So it's all going to be about record and record. So they are saying that, okay, look, Jenana is dangerous. Put Ewadako there. Ewadako is from Ashanti. He can talk. Why is the NDC concerned about Ashanti? Because if you look at the Ashanti votes, and some people are telling John Mahama that, look, you should be going to Ashanti even more than Dr. Bawumia. Because you see, Volta region, you may win. They are your people, you may win. But if you don't do well in Ashanti, you can never win the election. Because even the 25% votes that you get in Ashanti for 2020 is higher than the total number of votes in terms of raw scores, as they say, for what you get in the Volta region. So NDC wins Volta region by 90%, so they get some figures. But those figures is lesser than what they get in Ashanti. I don't want to go into the figures because I know what I'm saying is correct, and they all know that. So they are saying that, Chief, you want to win this election, you have to cut the 35% in Ashanti. Once you grab 35% of Ashanti, we hold Volta, we will do well in Greater Accra, we will restore Central, Bawumia can take the North, Chief, we will win the election. So there's pressure on John Mahama right now. What is he going to do? Should he keep the Nana Opoku Agyeman, or should he do the Ashanti politics with Kwame Ewadako? If it is Kwame Ewadako and it is Napo, whom do you trust on energy, sustainability, and policy? Whom do you trust? Energy, sustainability, and policy. Whom do you trust? So we are rolling it on, and there is also Alex Segbefia, who is coming in on the heels of the concern that the Voltarians are not happy. The Voltarians are not happy at all. Fifi Kwete is in the National Executive, he's Voltarian. But they think that they need a presidential slot. So they are thinking, Alex Segbefia. I suspect that argument will collapse. It's not going to sustain. It's not going to see the light of day. But let's see what happens. Okay, so these are the rest. Let's get to the MPP dark horses, which is very important. Because you see this running mate thing. Usually when the announcement comes, you are surprised. So we're going to put the MPP dark horses on there. You're putting the MPP dark horses, the second three, before I come to the NDC. Yes. Now, these are the dark horses. Dark horses. I'm going to talk to you about each of them and then see what you think. Eslaosu is in the middle. Ladies first, they say, so I'll start with her. Eslaosu is from Eastern Region, by the way. But if the MPP feel that the selection of Nana Opoku Agyeman as a woman had done some good to the NDC ticket of 2020, I don't know yet. I don't have data to back either way. But if that has done some good to the NDC ticket, then they are going to be thinking about Eslaosu. But Alhaji Bawumia, why don't you pick up Eslaosu? She can talk. She's a lawyer. She's a fighter for human rights. She's fought many battles. She's a gender champion. You put her in, she matches Nana Opoku Agyeman. She will smash Nana into smithereens. She's been communication minister. She's been minister at the center of ID card, Momo transfer. Most of the things Dr. Bawumia has done in technology is being anchored on the back of Eslaosu. She's a woman. She's from Eastern region, not Ashanti region, but let's see what happens. That's why they are calling her Eslaosu. Joe Wise recently gave an interview to Joy FM PM Express, which I watched with Divas Mensah. Beautiful interview. I saw that on Monday night. It was a very good show. I saw Joe Wise talking calmly and nicely, okay? Joe Wise is the speaker, first deputy speaker of parliament. And he also has come up for this running mate conversation because we're Ashanti. But we're keeping an eye on that. Let's look at the dark horses. You see, Godfrey Dame is here. I'll tell you something about why Godfrey Dame is coming up. Dr. Bawumia, and by the way, when we're talking about the arguments for Ken Kranchi in court today, the Attorney General Godfrey Dame argued in favor of President Mahama. The same argument that we put across. The Attorney General made that argument in the court against Ken Kranchi that, listen, President Mahama is qualified to run as president. Don't go there. He's qualified to run as president. So he did that job at the Supreme Court. I forgot to mention it, but it's in the document that the Attorney General supported President Mahama's claim that he can be president again. So that's gone. Okay. Now, he's there. He's from Bono. Bonos are under the Ashanti Kingdom, you know that, and he has excellent relations with Ashanti Kingdom. But this is the catch. You know, if you look at the results of the MPP primaries, you will find that in places where MPP didn't have parliamentary candidates, Kennedy Japan was doing relatively better than Dr. Bawumia. So as I looked at those results, I was just picking up places where MPP don't have parliamentary candidate. It looks like Kennedy. Now I checked with the people. Why did that happen? And there are all sorts of reasons. One of them being that because there's parliamentary primaries going on, in some of those places, it was difficult to run a Dr. Bawumia campaign head-on as you would run when an MP was there. Because if Dr. Bawumia goes there, the constituency is already divided among the MPs who want to become MP, the contestants who want to become MP. The constituency chairman is usually said to be on one side or the other, accusation against him and counter-accusations. If it's not well organized, Dr. Bawumia's attendance to that constituency will look like he's supporting one candidate or the other. The Bawumia campaign team didn't want that. So sometimes they sent messages to those places, but they didn't quite actually go there to press flesh. Because if you go there, you have to look like you are supporting somebody, you are supporting another person. But where the party had an MP, it was easy for the MP to be there. He will speak, the constituency chairman will speak, the candidates will speak. That was quite simple. What happened in Wenchi? Wenchi was one of those places where the party doesn't have a candidate. Godfrey Dame is from Wenchi, and he sort of mobilized the people and said, Dr. Bawumia is going to come. We're going to listen to him, and then we have to vote for him. So he took it upon himself as if he was MP. Yes.
Metro TV, insightful.
And do the argument about his potential running mate candidature. Have a look.
The next president of Ghana, what is he saying? Yes, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear daughter. Happy birthday to you. Various important projects that have been embarked upon by this government are all on account of what was done by Dr. Bawumia. We have free SHS, one district, one factory, one constituency, one ambulance. And then the buyer, answer me simple. Say a dream real, say Obi, no to Franca, and my MVP. Now, 7 years this year. Now, I like Dr. Bawumia ever when she. And another number of Kufuor, and another Dr. Bawumia, another waiting. And the time was appointed, the youngest attorney general in of this country. And indeed, I owe the duty to come and attest the goodness of the land of Bawumia. The year first round, apart from Ashanti, and apart from Lake, I have was apart from 2 regions, who know that it did come back. It will be the Masopa. Indeed, to have a side nation, the friend consistency chairman, we are a church of Bokaka. Now, every day, say, don't do any massive. That your court to a bano, bono, into a torso mesa. Master of President Castle, we say, you can't MPP, and let's say I can't Ashanti, and let's say I can't Easty, and say I can't Bono region. And so, put it in a home MPP. Except for the Dr. Bawumia, except for the Ghana government. The Ghana government, there is no better party which can represent the people of Ghana in terms of development projects than MPP. About a month ago, MC Ebakra, Kufuor, and Omahine, Rose Visa, Mr. Makwata. And Mr. Makwata did to say, by next year, road construction will begin in Wenchi. Indeed, Wenchi there, branches for the educated people, professors, doctors, the whole of Brown, Wenchi, they work the highest number. Mr. Makwata quarters every day, the far out of the quarters go to the Kosovo. Last month, Ghana Gas EU, together with some discussions I had with Kufuor. And I'm one he said yes. Ghana Gas agrees on bed constructing AstroTech waiting.
When she's also the hometown of Professor Buzia. So, Godfred Ami spoke. What did he achieve? This is the results from Wenchi, a constituency that the party doesn't have an MP. Is it not instructive that the NPP don't have the Wenchi seat? Professor Buzia's seat, Prime Minister Buzia's seat, the first time NDC won it was in 2020. When NPP were winning in Hohoi for the first time, NDC was winning in Wenchi for the first time. So there was crisis in Wenchi after 2020. They are now beginning to resolve it. And you heard the Godfred Ami there, very political in his talk. And sometimes when I was doing the research, people were telling me that, look, this guy has been a member of an NPP lawyer since 2009. He was in the saddle of the focal matter. You know, many MPP people who are key MPP, and I'll say this, quite sensitive, I'll say it, very key MPP people, you know, I can mention one of them, the transport minister, I can mention him, he's one of them. But there are people who are key, like him, and even higher than him, who have this soft spot for Freddie Blay. You know why? Because they tell me that, look, in the heady days of 2016, if Freddie Blay didn't rise up to stand and say that I will act as party chairman, everything would have collapsed. So there are key MPP people who have this very soft spot for Freddie Blay because of what he did. Now they tell me that the other person that they have this soft spot for is Dami. He was a young attorney. He went to the party and said, the Paula Foco cases, I will do it. So he'll go to court and fight the Paul Afoko cases. That means that nobody paid him for it. He didn't ask for any money. He said, look, Mr. Kufuor, all of you leave this for me. I will deal with this matter. So he went to court on his own as a small boy. Even today, they still call him small boy. Then think of 2015. He went in and fought the Afoko cases. So when the party came to power and they made him deputy attorney general, many people were not surprised. He was part of a core team with Michael Quay and Ayikwe and Jogate that they were given a responsibility. They were given a very sensitive, I won't tell you what responsibility they were given, because very sensitive. The four of them, Michael Quay, Jogate, Godfrey Dame, and Ayikwe were asked by President Kufuor to do some work for him, very, very critical, on some legal analysis. And that's what happened. And then from the Afoko case, then came the Abu Ramadan list of cases. And it's the Abu Ramadan list of cases that occasioned the MPP's process that brought up Joe Anoche to put up election results in such a way that to respond to the Supreme Court's ruling in Abu Ramadan. So that's where it came from. Now, what happened in Wenchi, by the way? After he spoke, Kennedy Ohine Japan got 153 votes and Mahama Bawumia got 559 votes, polling an average of 79%, which was far above the national average of 61%. That's what happened in Wenchi. So this is the reason why Godfrey Diabo Adame is coming up here for the running mate slot. Yeah, thank you for this photograph. This is the reason why Godfrey Diabo Adame is coming up very strong. Young man, mid-40s, etc., etc. People are saying, Dr. Bawumia, just settle on him and let's move on, and then we can deal with this matter. So that's the NDC MPP story. Let's come to the NDC story now, and then we will be wrapping up shortly. Okay, so yeah, this is the end. This is the NDC story. So this is the MPP story. Alhaji Muhammadu Bawumia has 6 people that we know. If the number becomes 7, or if one drops out, we will update you as we hear. But it's all speculation. We don't know what Dr. Bawumia is going to do. He will do what he wants to do, and he will do it at the time that he wants to do it. So we don't have all that. We don't have all the information at this time. They're just showing me that I have 5 minutes to go off. That's what they're showing. Mika, you have to get ready and read the. Tell them to give us up to 10 more minutes. To give us 10 more minutes. Because I'm begging for 10 more minutes so that we can wrap up nicely, isn't it? I had another brilliant part of the story to tell. I'm not sure whether I'll be able to do it, but I'll show it to you in a little bit. Okay, so Matthew Opoku Prempeh, Educhum, Chairman Sabonsu, the top 3 dark horses, Godfrey Dame from Wenchi, Esla Usu from Eastern Region, and Joe Wise, the first Deputy Speaker of Parliament from Ashanti. John Dramani Mahama, he has with him Jenana Opoku Ajeman, and yes, he's going to, she's the incumbent. There's a 65%, almost to 70% chance that Jenana will be retained. Alex Segbefia has about a 15% chance of becoming, Kwame Wadaku has about a 35% chance of becoming, and Kesela Tuforce is a dark horse in that one. Well, Kesela Tuforce and Godfrey Dame are having a fight in court, aren't they? And both of them are on the list to be running mates. Assuming Godfrey Dame is chosen here and Kesela Tuforce is chosen here, the vice presidential debate will be butu. Are we going to have a vice presidential debate? Maybe we'll have. Okay, let's take the text messages from what people are saying. Are they giving us 10 minutes? Give us 10 minutes. Text messages first. I'll come back and show you the last story I was going to do, and then we can wrap it there. 7 minutes past the top of the hour at 11 o'clock. Sorry, I always keep you up too late. We'll finish just now. Text messages now.
Okay. Kofi Chingi says, to continue the footprints of President Nana Addo and Bawumia's government, the best pair is Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh. NAPO performed tremendously well at the Education Ministry and made the NPP's government popular. NAPO's performance at the Energy Ministry is top-notch. Now, Sentence Bafo says, NAPO single-handedly led the development of the basic school curriculum and almost completed the senior high schools before he left. Throughout history, there has not been a Minister of Energy who has managed such a crisis-prone ministry with so much tact and intelligence. It is as if we do not have any challenge at the ministry. NAPO is simply versatile, a surgeon who manages education and energy just like the expert would do, and if not better. A medical doctor talking energy reforms at the Ministry of Energy. Quintessential leadership. Now, Koji Fisio says NAPO is the anointed one already. Just give it to him and let's move on. Issa Ibrahim says, good evening, Mr. Paul and your team. DNB and NAPO will be a very good ticket for the NPP. I think they are all serious campaigners. Yakubu also thinks that Bawumia should never make the mistake to pick Napo as his running mate. He will really undermine Bawumia big time. Samuel Essien.
What did he say? Read that message again.
He said Bawumia should never make the mistake to pick Napo as his running mate because Napo would undermine Bawumia big time.
I see.
Okay, so continuing, Samuel Essien says if there is anyone to partner Dr. Bawumia as running mate, then there is none other than Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh. He's extremely done well in the NPP. He's been a fine NP. He was fantastic Minister of Education, and now he's very, very competent Energy Minister. And lastly, Augustine Donko has a weakness for Napo. He says, Napo is good at all levels, but he is weak with his communication. He has a very poor communication skill. If I were Dr. Bawumia, I would rather choose Dr. Osei Educhum and not Napo. What do you have for us?
Prince Scott says that the analysis, Paul, you are too much. Keep this up. You are the cornerstone in Ghana's political analysis. What will we do without you? Ibrahim says, good evening to Paul and his team. DM and Napo will be the very good tickets for MPP, and they are serious campaigners together. Lastly, Baba says that Dr. Matthew Opoku Prempeh, the only grassroots man who can partner Dr. Maud Bawumia come 2024, inshallah. The Makers Electronics Company Limited is running a 67% discount on selected appliances such as Samsung, LG.
I already help you. Okay, yes. Please go on.
Such as Samsung, LG, NASCO, TCL, and Toshiba. These quality and affordable products are also going to come with a 2-year warranty. That is going to be showcased in their showrooms in Taifa, Ashaman Zongo, Oyarefa, Boga Junction, Kaswa New Market, and Ashaman Valco Flats.
All right, so this is coming from F.Y. Yeboah, and she says, Napo tops at all. Junior Akbar Tamale says, once we always see that we have the man for me, actually, I believe in them all, and all of them are capable of doing any of their jobs, but I think Dr. Bawumia is the best to decide. Coming from Stephen Work, he says Napo did the hard work at the Ministry of Education before Adichum and then moved to Energy Ministry and has distinguished himself. Napo is solid. Coming from Prince Court, he says the analysis, Paul, you are very good at this. Amiska says Dr. Paul and Dr. Matthew Opoku are the best combination. And then Isa Ibrahim says, good evening, Paul and your team. DMB and Napo will be a very good one. They are both serious campaigners. So I have this with me, Nadum Autofix here, and it says it's the biggest car service center here in Ghana. We offer a wide range of auto services in real time. We have well-trained staff in various departments such as the auto mechanic, auto electrician, straighteners, welders, sprayers, and body works. At Nadum Autofix, we offer a 24/7 towing services to all our clients, so we can conveniently bring your immovable car to our service center. Our services include 1. Car diagnostics, mechanical works, auto servicing and oil change, alignment and balancing, body works and spraying, car detailing, that is polishing the interior and exterior of your car to look brand new. And then 9, we have steam engine wash, that is washing your car engine without using water, and then the sale of car battery. We also have in stock car tires of all rim sizes at a whole and retail price. We free fixing when you buy a tire from us. Angela, what do you have for us?
We've got from Simaila watching us from Anyaso to Ahmed. He says that, Paul, if we have to check the records in education and how it's been modernized, then there is none like Educhum, we're just in support of Napo because of his Menshia affiliation. We've also got from Mark in the USA. He says, hello, Paul. News in the public domain is that NPP officials have taken a decision that the vice presidential candidate should come from the Ashanti region. The source is the deputy speaker, and he says, Honorable Joe Weiss, is this true or false? Well, that's from Mark watching us from the USA. Also from our sponsors, firstly, our friends, Amin Alternative Medical Hospital, being the first to modernize herbal and homeopathy medicine in Ghana. They have trained and experienced medical practitioners from KNUST, combined with state-of-the-art medical equipment. You guaranteed that every hidden ailment will be diagnosed with ease and treatment will be given in no time. We offer consultation, counseling, physiotherapy, homeopathy to treat most ailments. Now, do note that your life is very, very precious, so do secure good health with Almond Alternative Medical. Now, please find us 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and on Sundays, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Now, locate us at Klangon on the Lashibia Shaman Road near the Underbridge and book an appointment with us on 0207 229 505 or 0244 227 192. And as always, with Almond Alternative Medical Hospital, God is your healer. Also from our friends at Kingdom Home Real Estate, they provide quality but affordable housing facilities for sale. Now, our facilities are located at the serene environment of Okropong with and Debris with the best weather conditions. Now, we're 30 minutes drive from Accra and provide a modern touch of comfort, providing high standard security service, CCTV, of course, standby generators, constant water supply, and electricity. Now, we're surrounded by lovely tourist sites such as the Ebri Botanical Garden, Batu Falls, Safari Valley Resort, and etc. Now, pay 70% upfront and spread the rest of the 30% within just 2 years with zero interest. And locate us at Ebri, close to the Ebri Girls Senior High School and Ikropong, right after the Latte Junction. And call us on 055 976 1144 or 0555 621 611 and visit our website www.kingdomhomerealestate.com and also find our Facebook page. Back to you, Paul.
Okay, so that's about it for tonight. If there's nothing more left, we were going to give you a story, and somebody has sent me a text about can Bawumia choose Kufuor as his running mate? Yes, maybe he can. But there's a story about that, and on Thursday we'll show it to you. I will look at the Constitution and make a decision and share with you whether Dr. Bawumia can choose Kufuor as running mate. It's happening in some countries, but can he? And the same, if J.J. Rawlings was alive, can John Mahama choose J.J. Rawlings as a running mate if he's popular? We will. Sorry about that. It's past 11. That's just a joke, by the way. Well, whilst we are preparing for 2024, we have also prepared a car show. We prepared a car show for 2024, and on Thursday we'll show it to you and we'll walk you through it. But I want to show you just a little bit of the car show. Can you show a teaser of the car show? Yeah, there you go. Okay, so I'll talk from here so you can kill the sound over there. So that's our car show that will sort of tell you the history of politics in Ghana from NDC to MPP. The change of tie is an Atta Mills change of tie, and then it comes to John Mahama. That's the NDC car ridden by Atta Mills. So this was being that election. And we showed you something like this before. One of our producers, Nisaki, he puts this together. On Thursday, he'll come on the screen and show us how he does it. And you'll see the car. This is the MPP car, and that's Kufuor riding it. And we're showing you all the way Kufuor, Nana Kufuor, Dr. Bawumia, and we're doing it in a Formula 1 style. So we're going to show you that, and there will be a presentation here on Thursday about that. Okay, viewers, thank you very much. Without much ado, good evening to everyone, and happy birthday to all those who celebrated their birthday. I've seen quite a bit. Okay, cameraman, are you talking to me, or shall I close? Okay, everything is done. Thanks for watching, viewers, and have a very good night.